Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru, and I am bringing you a how-to video. This is a request from some of my subscribers wanting to know how to build a custom model within Fantasy National. And so I thought I'd take a few minutes. I will go over how to do a custom model. I'll also show you a few different tricks and pieces of information that you might want to be able to do within Fantasy National. I am not affiliated. I am not sponsored. At some point, I do need to reach out to those guys, at least to get you guys a discount code through me. So that said, let's jump into Fantasy National. Let me show you how to go and build a custom model and do a few other things. All right. Okay, so I'm in fantasynational.com. I'm already logged in, and of course, we're at this moment looking at the AT&T Byron Nelson. And what you typically will see when you first log in is this thing that says strokes gain. That's the view you're looking at. You have all these different views that you can go into, but to build a custom stat model, what I typically show you guys after I figure out the course and everything, I then finally go in here and I build out the model. So you want to click on custom stat model. You are going to see this pop up. It says custom stat designer. And what you're wanting to do is go click add new. That's going to allow you to then scroll down, and you're going to see to the right here, I've got a ton of models from past. So I'm going to have to scroll a bit, but you're finally going to get to this area if you scroll down and rename this, and I'll just call it, we'll call it how to, but you can name it. Of course, what I do is typically put the year and put the name of the tournament, or if you're building something specific like a short game model or an irons model, whatever it is, but you name it here, click save. And then you're going to see it's going to give you these four options. What I typically do is go over here, I click these X's, and I start anew. So first thing you can do is scroll through, and what's the first, usually I rank it by what's most important to me for that tournament. So typically approach is one of the first things from a stroke gain analysis you're probably going to want to know. You can work your way from the tee. So then there's also off the tee, which is taking into consideration the distance plus hitting fairways. And let's say we want them to be good around the greens. And we want to find out how good of a putter they are. And then you can pick, if you scroll down, there's a lot more things you can pick, but let's make sure they can make birdies. And I'll do one more just so you understand. This is that proximity to the pin. So this is the iron shot that you're hitting in after your drive. And let's just go ahead and pick 125 to 150. Okay, so you've got some stroke gain, what I call key indicators, that you've decided that for this tournament is what you want to look at specifically. And then you can go over here and you can slide the weighting scale on how important that is to you. So let's say approach is very important, so we'll put that at 30%. Off the tee, we'll put that at 15. Around the green, we'll make a little less. We'll make that 10. Let's say they have to be really good at putting, so we'll make that 15. And of course, we want to know if they can make birdies. We'll do 10. And then I'll just slide this over. So it's only going to max out at 100%. So you can just use the rest. And I'll put that at 20%, approx 125 to 150. And if I scroll up, you'll see total weight applied is 100%. And then you click load my model. It's going to take a little bit. It's thinking. And it's also going to access the data that I have selected, which we'll talk about that very shortly. All right. So also what this is pulling from is you have over here, how many tournaments or rounds of golf do you want this model to pull against? And as you guys will typically notice, I like to keep it pretty fresh. So I'm sticking to 12 rounds. And if you want to understand what courses that's pulling up for each player or what tournament, just click on that 12 and you'll see it's pulling in master data, which there's very minimal because they don't allow stroke gain data there. But it did pull in birdies. But then you can look at the other tournaments, the Players, Arnold Palmer, the Genesis. This is important to understand. Just if you see a player that you're kind of like, well, that's odd that he's up there. Sometimes it's pulling in, could pull in if they haven't played in the last 4 or 5 tournaments. But if you keep it pretty much to 12 or 24 rounds, you should not have an issue. But I just wanted to call that out. You can also see right now, because I have this, because it's before round 1, You'll also notice that they're giving you tee times, which is very helpful. When I'm doing showdown, or if I want to build an AM PM, I will go through and pick all the early tee times. Now this only works for round one, but it's pretty helpful. You can click the stars and find out real quickly all the guys that you are interested in. Well, what I do is I go through it, I click all the morning tee times, and then I look at my model and say, who's doing well. All right. So that's real quick. You can see the approach is at 30% off the tee around the green, putting, birdies. Here's that, what did we do? 6 stroking categories. And then if I click my rank, it will go ahead and it will pick the number one guy for, for that fits this model, and it ranks them, right? Ranks them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. If you want to know best off the tee, click on that. Best around the green, best putting, so on and so forth. All right, so that's very simple to show you how to make a custom model. Now, if you want to get a little more trickier and you want to say, well, I want to now add some filters. And so the course they're playing is a par 72. We'll talk about the TPC Craig Ranch. It's over 7,400 yards and it's bent greens. All right, so what that's going to do is then pull in comp courses, like courses from those specifics. And real quickly, you've got a comparable course list. And then all you do again is go back down and click load my model. And it's going to pull in the new results. It's pretty fast. Click my rank again, and now it's going to tell you the guys that do best the last 12 rounds on those courses. So now if I click that rounds again, you'll see specifically, the Masters, it fits that specific Augusta, right? It's a par 72. It's over 7,400 yards. It's bent grass. So it's pulling in master data. You can do it. But anyways, it tells you the tournaments, gives you the data. Just, it's a checking point to make sure that you're seeing the information you want. Okay. What else could I show you real fast that you might want to know? Oh, I thought this is kind of a neat trick that I learned not too long ago. If you want to get specific about the courses that you want to use for a comparable, you hit Control and then click with your mouse. Actually, hold on a second because it clicked on both. I don't know why. Let's try that again. So if you hold Control and click left on your mouse, it'll click that specific course, and then you can go through again, Control, and click, and then click over here. And now it's pulling those specific courses up. And so that way there, it's not by filter, it's by, so when I do comparable courses for you guys, that's how I do it now. Because what I did notice, when you do some of the filtering that I showed you, sometimes it'll pull in courses that are not correct from like a grass type on the greens. So I want to get very specific, and that's how I do that. And if you want to get rid of them, just hit Control, left click your mouse, and that'll get rid of them. And then you click back in this dark space. All right. There's a lot of different tools up here that you can use. When I give you guys all the background on the course, this course breakdown, so it will pull up the specific course. When I do that, you'll see, pulls up TPC Craig Ranch. That's the scorecard, and I typically show you guys. This is where I get a lot of the background information on what is important from past tournament. It's going to give me the proximity of the pin. It's going to give me, the breakdown of the holes, historical cut line, all kinds of great information. There's some stuff that I will use. Sometimes I see things that I don't agree with, and I know is incorrect, but most of this is pretty right on target. And of course, the more data we have at that specific course, the better it is. So, there's a course breakdown. If you are doing one and done, if you just click on tournament history, you will quickly find out who's the best at this course. And you just click this stroke gain total, click it a couple times, and then the highest number, and you should see a bunch of green, and you can see who's had the best success. Now you got to remember that this is not Trinity Forest. So 4 of these is Trinity Forest. But for courses that it's been at that same course, like, well, Wells Fargo is a bad example because it wasn't at Quail this year, but you understand, that's when you can really get a better understanding of who has done very well at that tournament, at that specific course. What else can I show you real quick? Oh, when I show you guys who I'm picking, I use this thing called Sneak Peek. And what this does is it brings up a different view, but it's like kind of what I call like a dashboard. It brings in multiple things that you would want to look at in one view. And this view I didn't pick, but I'll show you how to do it real quick. So here's like what I call the mini model. There's the 5 key areas. You can set the weighting by edit model. And then remember how I show you guys recent results in terms of history. Just do that by clicking there. And then if you click on View Designer, it's going to give you the ability to make this however you want. And so if I want to edit, let's say the one that I've been using, and let's just say I'll click remove. I can select content. I want to keep that kind of flow graph because it just visually is easy to look at. And typically what I share with you guys is the birdies. So let me go find that if I can. There we go, birdies gain. I'm going to do over the last 3 tournaments. I'm going to click done, and then I'm going to click save. And so now it's pulling that up slowly but surely, and it'll load this in. And you can see it's pulling the last 24 rounds. That's where the mini model is being built from. Now this is pulling the last 12 rounds. It'll state that. You can switch that to whatever you want. And it's just a really quick way to visually see a lot of information instead of kind of jumping through different things. You can click on this model rank and it'll tell you from this information right here who fits the best. And you can scroll down. Of course, you got pricing, you got projected ownership, you got cuts made. And so you can go through and pick your guys, but that's why I show you guys the analysis this way, because I think it's the best representation. So that is under sneak peek. Of course, owner projections, ownership projections. You have to have, I think, at least 10 or 15 guys highlighted with a star. And if you click on ownership projections, which that's how I show you that. Past course conditions, I don't use that a lot. I used to share that, but courses play different every time, so there's not really a whole lot of information there. If you want to find out green speed, but I get that from Superintendent, so I don't need that, but that is a way to understand whether the greens are fast, slow. If there's some odd scoring, you could see, you know, was it windy? Well, let's click on it so you can see. So this is the information that you can get, you know, scoring relative to par. It'll tell you what kind of greens are. Are they firm, fast? You know, is hitting the fairways easy? The length of the rough, green speed, you know, par, yada, yada, yada. So there's some information there that could be interesting, and it's got quite a few years. You see when I scroll down. This is tournament conditions at the Byron Nelson, and you got to remember, it'll tell you over here which course, so TPC Craig Ranch, and then a lot of this is Trinity Forest, TPC Four Seasons. Okay, I think the last thing I'll show you is maybe recent results. So this is kind of interesting from a perspective of which players in this field have been playing the best over the last 5 tournaments. Now, of course, in that sneak peek, you kind of already get this information, but this is another way to view it if you want. So just another thing that you can use. Lineup generator. This is where you will build mass lineups. And so when you go through and select all your players, so let's just do that for a quick exercise. Okay, hopefully that's enough. And now if I click lineup generator, it's going to bring me to this area where it will create hundreds of lineups, and you name that. So let's say I want to create 50 lineups. I set a max salary, which of course in DraftKings is $50K, and I can create a minimum. So I'll give it $1,000 that could be left over, and I can put how many golfers do I want shared in each 6-man lineup. So I'll say go ahead and, you know, I'll allow 5 different, you know, people shared. So you could have 1 overlapping in the max. Then you go through here, and now I got my players that are selected, and I can add weighting to them on how much I want, you know, one player over the other. So if I really like Scheffler, I would put him at 40%. And let's say JT, I really don't want, but I want a little of them, I'll put 10%. So when you hear about people stating their ownership weight or how, you know, how heavy they are on a certain player, this is what they mean. And right here you can see projected ownership. So the guys that are less owned, right, if you're doing a large GPP, you might want to increase and maybe minimize your exposure to the chalk if you're trying to be unique. You know, it doesn't have to be on every guy, but maybe some. You know, maybe Cameron Champ is so low owned, you say, well, I really like Cameron Champ. I'm putting him at 50% within my 50 lineups. So once you're happy with that, you don't have to put weighting. You can leave it all at 20 or whatever you want. You can also, before we do this, let's say you can create what they call a core player group, and this is kind of cool. So you state each lineup must have this many of these players. So to add some, you just click that add, and it gives you this list of all the players you select. And you can say, I want these 6 guys to be in my core player group. So you also will hear me say that. So when I do my 15 picks, that is typically my core player group. And I want to say I want at least 2 of those guys. This might not work, but we'll try. 2 of these guys from this group to be in every team that's built. And then if I click this generate lineups, like I said, this might not work because I don't have a very big field. What did it say? Oh, it built. So scroll all the way down and it'll show you all the lineups. And so it'll tell you how much was spent, how much was left over. And if you feel like it, you can scroll through and see all those lineups. And if for some odd reason, you can also look on how many lineups each of these guys have been built in. And if you don't like the amount, let's hypothetically say, is there any at 0? Nope. But I've got 1 here, and let's say I wanted more Will Z. So I can move some shares. What that means, if I click this, it'll quickly show me, okay, this is how many available I can swap. And so you can just put the number in here. So move for Hideki, you can click on each guy and away you go. So that's the generator lineup. So that is a very quick tutorial. This was specifically on how to create the custom model, and hopefully that helps. And if you have any more questions, let me know, and I will talk to you guys later.